Hello everyone, I'm back. And I am not showing up on the video because I am going to show you what's on my computer screen. It took a while to set this up and I didn't see any way to get in the view and then flip it around and get everything. So what this is just some of the scans that I made when I scanned my car, my C2 to C8. So I'm going to show you what I have real quick, just so you can see. My goal is I'm sending these off. I've got to convert them from the format of the Shining CD scanner and software, the EX Scan HX scanner, to a format that someone else can use to manipulate it, to combine these into one, to align them. I can do it in the software, but someone's offered to do it for me. And right now I've got other things going on. So I'm going to go ahead and have them do it. But let me show you what I've got that they're going to work with. This isn't all of it. This is just what I loaded. I decided to stop at this point because I was afraid I might overload the computer and then I would end up crashing things. All right. One of the challenges was trying to name things consistently enough that I could figure out what they were after the fact. I tried as hard as I could, but in looking back, I didn't do such a great job. And one of the disadvantages, if you look over here, it only shows part of the name of the file or the scan. And again, that makes it even more difficult. But I have to work with what I've got. So if I turn this on and I blow it up, and I can use the mouse, and this is the front end. I made sure I got this lower section right here because that's part that's very unique to this car, and I needed to be able to duplicate it. The other purpose of this is they are going to take this and make one side and then mirror image it. So I only really needed one side of each car, of the car, so that it could be modified and mirrored. So you can see that this actually is a pretty good scan. All right, so let's get rid of that one. And the next one, this is the passenger side and the top. Just for reference, you can see, or you should know, that this was done in dark, whereas the first one was done in bright daylight, and the color is significantly different. This one here, the color is a little darker. It's not as consistent, but it doesn't matter. It'll work either way. I did get better color on the wheel here. I also have the ability to show or hide the texture. If I do that, then I lose some of the features that I see with the color turned on or the texture turned on. So this is the passenger side, straight from the side, and some of the top. The top was really hard to get. I couldn't get it in daylight, in bright sun, or even in medium sun. The scanner just would not get it. So I had to wait until a cloudy day to do this, or dark, either one. All right, the next one is this section back here was hard to get because the scanner kept losing its place. I should have put little markers on there, but when you put markers, it thinks it's a hole. So I did what I could without putting markers on it, but this is that back section. This is the trunk, I believe, and then this is the section that opens and closes for the top. All right, the next section is, this is a better scan of the back of the car on the passenger side. I wanted to make sure I got these vents inside the vent as much as I could. There is still a little bit of blank area right there. I would have had to point the scanner up more to get that. I wasn't as concerned with that. I figured that could be manually done. And I wanted to get this curve right here, this transition, and this area inside of the vent. Okay, there's another good view of the wheel, as good as it's going to get. And then there's ground level, and that's done for a reference in the future, so we'll know what the ground clearance is. Next one. All right, again, like I said, I tried to name it. Okay, so this is that back section behind the one that we saw earlier that starts at the trunk and then goes back to, here's where the third brake light is, and then this is the very end of the car. See what we have here. This is another view of that same area that ties together the two previous ones that we saw, that front area right there, the back area right there, and then like I said, it ties it all together. If you look over here, you can see that there's a piece missing right here. I have it as a separate piece. I actually haven't even scanned it, but it's the curve that fits right there. This is the back end of the car. So I went across, made sure I got as good as I could view of the back end, tilting the scanner so that I got the inside of each of those pockets. We found out when we tried to put the lights in that those pockets are different depths, and it is important that you have the right depth for each pocket. The lights won't fit if you don't do that. The other issue is that the curve of the body has to match there's a chrome piece insert that goes in here. The curve of the body needs to match that. It does not, so at some point in the future that will have to be rectified. The other thing is right here, this blank area is where the reverse camera mounts, and it thought it was a hole. It was black, and it just assumed it was a hole. I also wanted to get the pockets where the vents go right here. You can see if I can rotate this correctly. Sometimes it's hard to do. There we go. There's the tabs that the vents mount on the bottom. All right, and then on the top, I don't remember what holds the top on. I'd have to look at it and see, but this is as good as I could get for this scan. The next one is the front end. If you looked at that previous one that had the passenger side, it stopped somewhere around here, and then I had that front piece that was right here. I was missing the part in between that tied the two together. If you rotate this around, you can see that there's the front end. So this will tie together that bottom piece that I had across here. It'll tie together this piece. It'll tie together all of this, the hood. One of the problems is if the scanner loses its place, it finds its place on its own. And unfortunately, sometimes it finds the wrong place. So if you can see, it has a bit of an extraneous, let me see if I can get this piece right there. This piece right here doesn't really exist. It's just floating in there. Same way with these pieces back here. They don't really exist on the car. So sometimes it loses its place. That's why when it keeps consistently losing its place, I give it a couple of chances to find its place. And if it doesn't find its place, I stop the scan and save it at that point so that it won't go off and start adding extraneous pieces. Okay, the next scan is, all right, so this is the driver's side. Notice that the driver's side vents are different than they were on the passenger side. And this is towards the end where I'm getting better scans than I did. The lighting just happened to be right. That has a lot to do with it. Obviously, it has these extraneous pieces that in the post-processing, those will be cleaned up. And this is still the C8 door that has that piece right there. If you remember from the other side, the door's flat, doesn't have these humps. That's just the way the car was. So again, what will happen is in the post-processing, they'll take the door from the passenger side, mirror image it, get rid of this door, and put that mirror image of that door in its place. And again, I tried to get enough distinct areas like this mirror so that when they do mirror image it, they have something to reference location with. Let's see, and if I remember right, yeah, I tried to get this area as best as I could right here. It stopped right there. Again, like I said, it loses its place, but that shouldn't be that difficult to replicate. And part of the plan is to get an actual C8 3D model that fills in some areas where this area right here underneath this panel is stock C8, so that can be gotten from a stock C8. Okay, and this is that rear section behind what we just looked at. Again, the idea is that we can stitch these together. It lost its place when I was trying to extend this to the back. It stopped right there, and like I said, notice there aren't any extraneous pieces here. And that's why I stopped. I stopped before it tried to make those extraneous pieces. And so then I just did another scan and said, okay, that one goes up to a certain point. Let me make sure I have enough overlap between the two. And then I continued on. And this wraps around the corner. That's the other challenge. A lot of times the scanner had trouble going past some edge. So if you look at the prior one right here, you can see it got a little bit past that edge. It lost there, but at least it got some of that. And then if you look at this one, I simply couldn't get it to go past that peak of the eyebrow. It just kept losing its place. So that's when I decided I better stop. All right, then the next one. This is the roof section. And again, I had a hard time getting the other scans to not lose its place as I went upwards. So this one I specifically concentrated on getting this area right through here and the roof, because initially I wasn't concerned with the getting the C8. The roof is mostly stock C8, but I did round the edges here because there were sharp edges, so they're rounded in this. Again, that can be done in post processing, but I needed to get some of these areas. And again, it lost its place as soon as I got to this edge. It got this area down here, but it didn't get this area that connects right here or the back window. Again, that's stock C8. I didn't touch this area right here. So if we had a stock C8 model, we could get this. Same way with the missing part of the roof. Okay, this one right here is more around the back. It got a little bit of this area that was missing in the last scan. These pieces right here. So when I did this, I needed to make sure I got certain areas so that by mirroring, we could make sure we got everything that we needed to get. So on the passenger side, this piece that is missing right here exists. So we can use that, mirror image it. On the passenger side, this piece is missing. And so what we can do is flatten this out, fix it, and then mirror image it for the other side. And again, I have this as a separate piece. I may end up scanning it if he says that that would be easier or better than trying to modify this one. And then the last one that I did is the driver's side, this lower area right here. I was concerned with how to terminate these. You can see that that's not the way I want them terminated right now. It doesn't even extend here to meet. And again, it kind of tried to find its place again, and it added a hump here that doesn't exist. Let's turn this around and see. See, on the back side, it's relatively flat, but all of a sudden there's some strange hump there that isn't really there. Again, that can be cleaned up in post-processing. I just need the ideas to get the basic shape and enough that we can piece this puzzle together and end up with the right thing. You can see there, there's that flat area. So I'm going to have him figure out what's the best way to terminate this. So what he's going to do is he's going to make a 3D model out of this, and then I am going to take that 3D model and we're going to make either molds from the 3D model or a plug from the 3D model and make molds, or the final option is to actually 3D print body panels straight from the 3D model. Oh, and then there's also the option to get a big piece of foam and carve the foam so that we have a plug. Not sure which one of those is going to work or be the most viable. but that's the plan at this point. Okay, that's all I have. There are other pieces. I do have enough, I think, to get the entire car pieced together. I won't know until I process these. Each of these are in the native format of the software. Each of them has to be exported into a format that can be used later. And that would be either STL, OBJ, are the two that he requested, said he could work with. There's other ones. There's about 4 or 5 of them that I can export it as. So right now what it's looking for is I can create a project group, which is what this is. It's a group of a bunch of different projects. Each of these pieces is a different project. I could, of course, delete my scan, which I don't want to do. Because I have all of these pieces, it gives me the ability to align them. Before I do that, I want to export these as individual files and have him align them. And then if I have time, I will try to align them within the software itself. Of course, I can save my scan, and in each one I can show and hide the texture. And I can create a mesh model. That's where it goes off and creates the OBJ. All right, that's all I have for now. I will do some more processing and manipulating, but I got to a point where this one file has the most number of body panels in it. So this would be the one I would use to see how much do I have and how much is aligned. Once I get all of these aligned and trimmed, then I will find out what's missing and go grab the files that contain the missing parts. Hopefully there aren't any, because I have sent the car off to be modified into a Grand Sport. So I no longer have the car here, but I can go to the shop, and if they haven't progressed too far, do scans at the shop. That's hopefully an option. All right, so go ahead, like, subscribe, hit the alert, donate if you want to by hitting the thanks. And if you don't know what I'm doing, you don't know Jack. Bye.